Oh boy, I sure do love animating. As you all know, my usual upload schedule is review, animation, so I really hope nothing disrupts my schedule. It's been a while since I've talked about the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. I think it's a generally popular opinion to say that these movies were a godsend for us Sonic fans. Before them, we were in the worst era of Sonic history, dubbed the Meta era. The franchise was still seen as cringe and unpopular, and the games ranged from mediocre to just bad. But thanks to the movies, Sonic's back to his heights he was back in the 90s with hits like Frontiers and Shadow Generations, all thanks to these movies. So what better way to start than reiterating my thoughts on them? Sonic 1 was fine. It was a bit generic and unfunny at times, but it's a decent movie that introduces new, unique takes on Sonic and Eggman. The new human characters like Tom, Maddie, and Agent Stone fit the universe well, and it's just nice to see them. They're pretty funny and charming. Sonic 2, on the other hand, was a significant improvement over the first movie. It evolved Sonic's character in a neat way. It introduced more stuff from the games, Tails and Knuckles were handled really nicely, and overall it feels like the crew behind it really wanted to make a Sonic movie from the very beginning, but were held back due to executive decisions or something. It had some issues like the pacing being way too slow and weird during the third act, and Tails couldn't stop dick riding Sonic, but despite those, Sonic 2 was still fun to watch. And then we had Knuckles. But that leaves us with Sonic 3, the latest installment of the Sonic cinematic universe, and an adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2. And unsurprisingly, it was peak fiction. Granted, it's not perfect. There's definitely some things I really don't like about this movie, and I'm definitely gonna call them out when the moment calls for it. But yes, this movie rocks. This one is honestly the best one in the trilogy. Yeah, they really do just get better with each movie. Well, I wasted enough time as it is. It's finally time to start talking about the third Sonic movie's Tokyo DLC pack for Shadow Generations. This DLC kind of blows, sorry. The level itself is fine, but it's interrupted by these intrusive cutscenes. Other levels in the base game had small moments of cutscenes too, but they usually only lasted about 5 seconds. The longest one was in the first stage, but they had the quick time event where Shadow had to beat the fuck out of the giant nuclear missile. The movie Shadow model looks okay, I guess, though he can look a little cheap looking at times. The music, well, I'm shocked that they somehow managed to make something worse than a track from Forces. And the length didn't really justify the DLC. It's just one level, challenges, and screenshots as collectibles. Also, Keanu Reeves' delivery is so off.
Chaos control.
So yeah, this DLC pack definitely left me feeling a little confused. The S-Rank animation was great though.
Perfect.
Okay, no more fooling around. It's finally time to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 3, A Very Sonic Christmas! This stop-motion Rankin-Bass style short was released like a week before the movie in preparation for the holidays. It was fun seeing Team Sonic help Santa do his job. Knuckles was the highlight as usual.
Not to worry, Santana. I will alert the children that Christmas is cancelled.
That was kind of funny.
Overall, it was a cute and funny short. Not much to say about it. Okay, I swear I'm done. Let's put the movie on. We open on Prison Island, and Shadow is frozen in suspended animation. The guards mention he's been there for 50 years. An interfering signal wakes him up, making memories of Maria flood back to him. I love how Shadow's motif is Live and Learn, introduced when Maria plays it on the guitar. Yep, that's right, they're finally using music from the games. Not just Live and Learn, but Eggman's themes from SA2 and 06, as well as the last scene from Sonic Adventure 2, City Escape, and the classic level clear jingle. Shadow proceeds to make quick work of the soldiers before breaking out and skating across the ocean. I'm gonna get more into Shadow later, but for now, one of my favorite aspects about Sonic 3 is how they handle Team Sonic. Something I didn't see anyone discuss during the wait for this movie was what they do with Sonic's character, and that was definitely definitely something I was curious about. I was also initially worried that Tails and Knuckles wouldn't have anything to do in the story and they'd get sidelined hard, but thankfully they're not. Sonic's arc in this movie is learning to be the leader of his team, and they make an effort to highlight Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles' roles. Tails and Knuckles even have scenes where they're allowed to shine on their own, with Tails showcasing his resourcefulness and bravery, and Knuckles showcasing his strength and strategic mind. I'm glad they didn't dumb down Knuckles, because if my favorite black-coated fighter who's good with his fists got ruined again, I just rely on Invincible Fight Girl for that, which is a great show and you should all stream it on Max so it gets greenlit for a second season. Team Sonic's introduction is through this race across the woods accompanied with rock music. It's about time the movie started to use a more fitting genre for Sonic, even if I thought some song selections in Sonic 1 were pretty good. This song in particular kinda gives me Cool Edge Day vibes from Unleashed. I can't play it due to copyright, but that's why I picked this song. Another thing you'll probably notice with this scene is the pacing. It's pretty good. Sonic 2 was a little too slow, but this movie wastes no time introducing Shadow, then Sonic, and eventually it takes a breather to focus on Shadow's backstory, but we'll get to that later. And it should also be noted that this is the best these characters have ever looked. As much as I hated Knuckles, I have to give credit where it's due. That show changed the approach they took with animating these characters, so they look more like cartoon characters rather than generic CGI characters inserted into a live-action movie. The whole race is revealed to be a mere distraction just so the gang can set up Sonic's Earth Day party. Today's the day Sonic came to Earth, and without him, these guys wouldn't be a family. Once Sonic shows Tom his old cave, Tom discovers a drawing of Longclaw Sonic drew on the day he arrived. Tom is proud of Sonic, saying he's come a long way and he didn't let the pain of losing his loved ones change who he is. Of course, since movie Sonic has a tragic backstory, there's more of a parallel to Shadow's backstory and how both of them handled their grief. Speaking of Shadow, he's made it to Tokyo and he finally realizes what year he's in.
2024?
No, Shadow, it's 2025. But you might want to go back to sleep for another 4 years. In fact, take me with you. I'm tired of the state of this world. Disappointment aside, G.U.N can't take down Shadow on their own, so they take the aid of Team Sonic, and here's where we're introduced to Agent Rockwell, played by Kristen Ritter. She was bad as fucking Bronking Bab. You might be wondering what Agent Rockwell is going to contribute to the plot. Well, she's one of the higher-ranking G.U.N personnel, and she's super reluctant to recruit Team Sonic, and she kinda just leaves halfway through the movie. There was a fan theory saying she was probably Rouge the Bat in disguise, since they showed off the disguise gadget in the trailers, and while I would have preferred that, honestly I would have preferred anything with her. What a waste of Kristen Ritter.
Talk about low budget flights. No food or movies? We're out of here.
You said the thing! Once Team Sonic Fortnites their way out of the G.U.N copter, they enter Sonic Heroes flight formation and meet Shadow for the first time. Shadow is voiced by Keanu Reeves, foreshadowed all the way back in Sonic 1 when Sonic was watching Speed. I'm glad the DLC wasn't indicative of Keanu's performance in this movie. At times I forgot he was Keanu Reeves, he's that good. He sounds nice and brooding, putting plenty of tragedy into the role, and he does get to showcase a little cockiness every now and then. I love when Shadow's a little bit cocky.
I've spent 50 years reliving what they did to her. This is who I am inside. Weakling, you're a colorful bunch.
After they do their own SA2 faker bit, Shadow gets to shine in this incredible action sequence. I guess Shadow's quirk in the movie verse is short form teleportation, like Chaos Control from the games. But in the games, a Chaos Emerald is required to pull off Chaos Control, but I guess Shadow can just do it freely, since later they explain he's abundant in Chaos Energy. But yeah, I like how Shadow can teleport freely. It sets him apart a little more, and it looks really cool when he uses it to take down Team Sonic all at once. Then after that, they hit you with not one, not two, but 3 callbacks to Shadow 05, where Shadow hops onto a motorcycle and takes a pistol before Sonic gives chase across the Tokyo streets. There's some nice banter between Sonic and Shadow, and the end where Shadow does the Akira slide up Tokyo Tower and jumping off the motorcycle for the 2 hedgehogs to collide was incredible. Shadow emerges as the winner, cuffing Sonic to the building using the titanium handcuffs Tails made earlier. The gang decide they won't continue further until Commander Walters elaborates, so they decide to meet him at the Chow Garden, baby! Of course, this is an SA2 adaptation, so having the Chow Garden featured as a Japanese mascot restaurant with live chow performances is a really nice touch.
He does look like a Pokemon. Pika Pika!
Oh yeah, the humor. Well, like in the other movies, the humor in Sonic 3 is very hit or miss. Some jokes are the funniest shit you've ever heard.
I don't believe this.
I know, grandson. A woman in the military.
That was kind of funny.
And some had me rolling my eyes in the theater.
Konnichiwa.
I get these are dumb kids movies, but if they really want this series to get better, the humor still needs to improve. I'm glad the flossing and farting are completely gone. I think that was for the best, but things still need to change anyway. Anyway, Commander Walters explains Shadow's backstory and oh, nope, never mind, he's dead. Jokes aside, Walters really does die here, and they give you no time to process it. It's really weird and oddly hilarious. When I saw it in the theater, I audibly said, wait, he died? But rewinding a bit here, I'm not too fond of Shadow's backstory, sorry. For comparison, Shadow was created to cure Maria's neuroimmune deficiency syndrome. Gerald Robotnik journeyed to Angel Island to take inspiration on Shadow's design using the wall prophecies of Supersonic, and with the power of chaos control, they were able to make decent progress on curing Maria before G.U.N deemed Project Shadow too dangerous and decided to raid Gerald's lab and ice Shadow for half a decade. In the movie, it's only somewhat the same. Maria isn't sick and Gerald didn't create him, but rather he's another alien from space, crash landing in the middle of Oklahoma. This, in my opinion, takes away part of what made Shadow so interesting, at least to me. Just the idea that he wasn't born naturally like the other animal characters and how the government sealed him away along with everything relating to his creation. It's intriguing as hell and it makes Shadow more unique. Gerald's role as his creator and Maria's sickness strengthens his bonds with them since he was literally made for Maria. He works fine as is in the movie, but if they really wanted to go the extra 9 yards, they could have made Shadow an artificial man-made hedgehog like his game counterpart. I don't think they needed to include shit like Black Doom or the Bio Lizard, but just the basic tidbits of how and why he was made would have been cool. Egg drones attack the Chow Garden and a mysterious motorcycler deactivates them. Walters gives Sonic one of 2 keys needed to activate the Eclipse Cannon for safekeeping, and he dies. Rest in peace, Commander Walters. I know you're enjoying the big, never-ending pasta bowl in the sky. Now that G.U.N is against Team Sonic, I guess because they couldn't find the key? Are they stupid? Once Team Sonic catches up to the motorcycler, he reveals himself to be Agent Stone.
It's the goat milker! It's the goat milker!
That was kind of funny.
Stone says Eggman wasn't responsible for freeing Shadow, so he invites them to the giant crab meat to see the whereabouts of Eggman. Eggman really let himself go, surrounded in garbage, gaining a few pounds, taking a bite from the world's shittiest burrito before tossing it aside, and watching telenovelas for some reason.
I have fallen in love with another.
But who, Gabriela? Tell me? Who? My twin brother, Pablo?
Okay, so now that Team Sonic seen him do that, he sees the stolen egg drones and he decides to call a temporary truce with Team Sonic to investigate, shaving his head before getting back into the game. This is where the movie slows down a little bit because Shadow is at the abandoned research base where he lost everything. We get flashbacks of him bonding with Maria, showing that she was the only one who genuinely cared for him and wanted to make him feel like he belonged. I like how she's rocking these rollerblades since Shadow's shoes function like skates. The two of them placing their hands on each other separated by the glass tube is a really strong visual, and overall Maria is just so full of life, dancing to 70s music playing on the record player, watching old monster movies with a neat Bio Lizard reference, goofing around letting Shadow be a dumb kid, and stealing a key card so the two of them can gaze at the stars in the sky. Shoutouts to Isla Brown for playing Maria as great as she did. I think it's also hilarious that she took a selfie in a body bag when she was announced for the role. She's totally in on the joke. As they're stargazing, they share a tender moment where Maria reassures Shadow he's not a dangerous monster like the scientists think, and the mood immediately shifts when the music stops and we cut back to the present. It's so effective. It feels like the movie is punching you in the gut. You know what I mean? The gang track down the interfering signal to the same base, they split up to search for clues, and Knuckles is afraid to go on his own.
Looks like a military base, but nobody's been here for years. I wonder if it's haunted.
Haunted? Nobody said anything about being haunted.
What's the matter? You afraid of ghosts?
Okay, time to call bullshit. Game Knuckles would never do this.
I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I'm gonna hold my head, cause I have no fear. This probably seems crazy, a graveyard theory. I go ain't got lyrics.
There's no such thing as a friendly ghost.
Seeing Tails and Agent Stone talk to each other was nice, and it's neat how this is where Tails explains what makes the team so special, making Stone jealous of their friendship, wishing he and Eggman could have something like that. Something that sets this story apart from the second movie, and Sonic Adventure 2 for that matter, is that Sonic understands what Shadow is going through, and I like that. They also touch on Eggman's upbringing as an orphan, and it perfectly fits the themes this movie presents to us. And once Shadow gets the better of Sonic, Eggman comes face to face with his long-lost grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, who's oddly still alive for this story.
The resemblance is uncanny. It's as if we're two characters in a movie being played by the same actor.
Yes, Jim Carrey is playing both Robotniks, and he does great as usual. There's some scenes where I was pretty impressed with how they interacted with each other like it was nothing, because they're played by the same person. But as I said before, the humor in this movie is very hit or miss, and that applies to Gerald too. Sometimes he can be too funny, and man, when I think of Gerald, I think of the well-meaning family man who was driven insane due to his loss and attempted to destroy the entire human race half a century after he was executed. I know, obviously, this is a different take on Gerald, but I don't know, it's just a little weird to me. Now that Team Sonic is chained to a post, Gerald finally reveals his master plan to break into London's gun HQ to steal the other Eclipse Cannon key, so Team Dark snatches the first key and fly there via crab meat while Shadow leaves our heroes to deal with a mini black hole. Anyway, time for the Robotniks to spend some quality time together. It was also sad to see Stone get neglected as he dumps the lattes with steamed Austrian goat milk, and it was funny when they showed the whole sequence was in VR and they're just munching on nothing here. Team Sonic of course escapes just in time, teleporting back to Green Hills to get Tom and Maddie up to speed on the situation. And since they were getting really bored without them, they agreed to join them without hesitation.
What is that?
Oh, this is
Little Tom.
Isn't he great?
I told you to get rid of that. It's very creepy.
I told him to get rid of you.
That was kind of funny.
The plan here is to sneak into Gun HQ by having Tom and Maddie infiltrate the base to deactivate the force field surrounding it and the laser hallway inside it so Sonic can zoom in to nab the key. Maddie suggests using the Master Emerald to transform Sonic into his super form, but Sonic says they vowed to keep the emerald hidden, and I like how only Knuckles knows where it is. That way he's technically the only guardian of the Master Emerald, just like the games. It's also neat that Tom and Maddie are more involved in the narrative now. Their role is more like the first movie, where they do have a moment to shine in the main story, but they do take a bit of a backseat in favor of the Sonic stuff. By far the weirdest approach is in movie 2, where they're sidelined for half the movie until the Sonic stuff is paused so we can get the infamous wedding scene. Anyway, Eggman designed ugly spandex suits so the laser hallway wouldn't be a problem. Agent Stone and Shadow stay behind to make guac.
Revenge guac.
You know, I'm just now realizing this is a sneaky little reference to the Shadow likes Latinas meme. Now if only he became the Latina eventually, just like my femme Shadow art. Wait a minute. I'm a Latina! Maddie uses a disguise gadget to masquerade as her sister Rachel, and Tom disguises as Randall.
Whoa, is that blackface, dude?
Tom, buddy, you could have disguised as Commander Walters or something. It would also make them sneaking into the server room make more sense since they kind of just get in a little too easy. Maddie as Rachel just says some shit and the receptionist guy gets scared and lets them in. Does he not have a spine? He should have called security or something. But anyway, the Wachowskis infiltrate the base, Tails keeps tabs on them, Sonic waits for his moment to zoom in, and Knuckles is there just in case of emergency. Then the laser dance scene happens. I mean, I guess it's kind of funny. It goes on for a little too long though. Skipping ahead a little bit, Sonic made it past the force field and he along with the Robotniks made it to the key, but the catch is the room has this odd gravity switching mechanic, which I swear I've seen in Sonic Adventure 2, but I just can't remember. Once Gun has both teams cornered, Knuckles breaks the glass in case of emergency, bursting through the ceiling and breaking the controls to the gravity tiles, making everything go haywire. The best parts of this sequence by far is the part where Sonic saves Tom by breaking free from the gravity floor just in time to break down falling debris, and the shot where Kristen Ritter smiles at the camera with her ass in the air. I mean, what? So Tom finally disguises as Commander Walters. Why didn't you do that before? And he takes the key from Rockwell. Earlier, Tails noticed an outside signal flushing the crab meat down the sewers, and this makes Shadow break into the base to see what the hell's going on. When he sees Tom as Walters, he immediately punches him in the gut, and Tom is out for the count. Shadow witnessing Sonic desperately clinging onto his adoptive dad was great, and it makes Shadow's turn to the good side a little more natural, now that he sees maybe others don't deserve to feel the pain of loss just because he did a long time ago. But regardless, he takes the key from Tom, returning it to the Eggmen, making the Eclipse cannon rise into space.
And I have one more surprise. It's a new suit!
Yep, Eggman finally has a game-accurate costume and it looks great. I honestly thought he looked perfect in movie 2, especially when he put the goggles on for a moment, but this costume looks great too. Shame they didn't do the goggles thing in this movie, but whatever. Tom is hospitalized for the rest of the movie, much to Sonic's disappointment. With no other option, he forces Knuckles to tell him where the Master Emerald is held, and he starts to get pretty angry. This has got to be Knuckles' best scene. Sonic's heartbroken and angry that Tom might not make it, and yet Knuckles remains level-headed and mature, stating Sonic isn't in the right mental state to make decisions right now. It almost seems like Sonic and Knuckles are about to fight, but Knuckles shuts his power off and lets Sonic know that he'll abide by the oath, still putting his trust in Sonic even if Sonic doesn't trust him at the moment.
The Master Emerald is guarded by a fearsome warrior, and to seize this ultimate power, you will have to go through him.
No! Sorry. After that show, I have an involuntarily stomach bugs when Wade Whipple is brought into the conversation. I've had my fill of this guy. Get him out of the movie. Thankfully, he's only in one scene, and Sonic is quick to take the emeralds from him. A lot of people talk about the next battle and how it felt like a Dragon Ball fight, and well, yeah, it does. I don't see a lot of people talking about what the sky does in this scene. When Sonic uses the power of the emeralds, the sky goes all dark, reminding me of what happens when the Dragon Balls summon Shenron. Back to Team Dark, Shadow questions if this is what Maria would have wanted, and Gerald tells him to remember what they took from him. Then we finally get to see Maria's death and how Commander Walters was somewhat responsible for it in the attempt to save them. Seeing Gerald desperately try to escape with the kids and seeing his eyes filled with tears makes me wonder if Gerald's portrayal in this movie would have been fixed if he was a more serious, no-nonsense villain as opposed to Ivo's silly, wacky goofiness. Back to Shadow, remembering the loss of Maria fills him with anger, making him run around the cannon, filling the core with chaos energy before Supersonic flies up to throw its hands with Shadow, and holy fuck, this fight is so cool! Back to the Dragon Ball comparisons, the impact the hedgehogs make on the earth is so hard it breaks the crust apart to make magma spew everywhere. It's like they're on planet Namek or something. It was amazing seeing Shadow knock the emeralds out of him, Knuckles, Sonic 3 and Knuckles style, and the both of them collide so they can both fight in their super forms. They're punching and kicking the shit out of each other, shattering more of the earth apart, and their duel is so strong it takes them to different continents with each punch. And of course, the music is finally going hard. Shadow's motif of live and learn accompanied with electric guitars this time makes me really giddy. Meanwhile, Gerald reveals his plan the whole time wasn't to use the Eclipse cannon to hold Earth ransom or something, but rather destroy everyone on it. As much as I thought Gerald was a little meh in this movie, I'm glad his motivations were kept intact, and this line in particular was so disgustingly disrespectful, and I can't help but love it.
Oh, Ivo. You're no Maria.
Back to the hedgehogs, Sonic remembers what Tom said at the beginning about how he's proud Sonic didn't let his pain change who he is, so he spares Shadow, reverting back to base form. The stars remind Shadow of Maria, and Sonic tells him to latch onto the love they felt for each other rather than what losing her made him feel. I think it's neat how once Shadow has a change of heart, the sun peaks over Earth, shining on the moon. And overall, I think Shadow's redemption feels more natural this time around rather than Amy running up to him and telling him he's supposed to be good, unlocking the memory of Maria's promise. Look, I like SA2, but you gotta admit, the plot wasn't airtight. Anyway, what were we talking about again? Oh shit! As per Sonic movie tradition, the climax is the best part, where Sonic and Shadow team up going super to save humanity. I think them dabbing each other up went really hard, and it makes hella more sense than them jerking off the air for no reason. But now they're hanging on the edge of tomorrow! Oh, go away! So yeah, the live and learn scene is cut off by the lame Eggman nanotech fight. When I said Gerald was too funny, I really meant it. There's a time and place for this hijinks, and putting it in the middle of the climax is not the right place. It would have been better if they put it after the live and learn sequence, or at least made it shorter, but yeah, I think this is a contender for top 10 scenes where the comedy is a detriment in this movie. But they randomly threw shade at Green Lantern 2011, which I thought was hilarious.
I haven't seen that since I hate-watched Green Lantern in 2011.
Anyway, now it's time for Sonic and Shadow to fight some gun robots. This is the coolest shit I've ever seen. The music is so fucking good. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. They did the Chaos Spears. They have Chaos Spears in this movie. This is the best movie I've ever seen. Remember in Sonic Adventure 2 where Gerald died by a firing squad? Well, how does he die in this movie? Why, by prostate stimulation, of course. Okay, fine. One last time.
That was kind of funny.
Tails and Knuckles help Eggman steer the cannon before it can hit Earth, and once the laser fires, the two hedgehogs try to keep the laser out of harm's way, with Sonic barely holding on. Thankfully, the heroes steer the cannon away, but unfortunately, they fractured part of the moon, just like in Sonic Adventure 2. And this scene is definitely not a reference to anything else. The moon pissing joke was never funny! Now it's Tails' time to shine, since they unexpectedly adapted one of my favorite moments in the series, which I think is really underrated, where Tails saves Sonic from falling to his death in the bad ending of Sonic 2. Even Knuckles comes in with the last ring portal, teleporting back to safety. The reactor core is unstable, so Shadow takes his inhibitor rings off to give himself the extra strength needed to push the cannon away from Earth while Eggman buys him some time. I know Eggman probably isn't dead, but this scene has a sense of finality to it, where he broadcasts his final goodbyes to Agent Stone, making their homoerotic friendship come full circle. They even call back to the latte line, and just like that, Shadow and Eggman are seemingly dead for now. Now that the day is saved, Sonic apologizes for lashing out, and the three of them go back home as a team, all while a touching rearrangement of The Last Scene from SA2 plays in the background. Tom is alive and well, and the gang resumes Sonic's party before properly starting a race. As they run off into the sunset, the credits start to roll, accompanied with Sega Saturn visuals as opposed to pixel art this time. Too bad the song sucks ass though. It's not bad by all means, but it's just the most generic thing ever. I still think Kid Coodie's Stars in the Sky was the best credits song for these movies. So that was Sonic the Hedgehog 3. This almost feels like it's not in the same film series as the other two movies. The writing is really good. I love how they handle Shadow's grief, and the dynamic between Team Sonic was great, not to mention Eggman's arc was also amazing, and the ending felt like a fitting send-off for him. The action is so hype, there's so many amazing moments that are just so fucking cool, what else can I say? And the fan service and references was just the cherry on top of all of this, including the better soundtrack. Again, nothing is perfect, the plot definitely has some hiccups and the humor is hit or miss, but in my opinion, it's not enough to stop me from enjoying this movie. This is by far the pinnacle of the Sonic cinematic universe so far, and I can't wait for the future of this film series, because it sure as hell is gonna be a good future. Yeah, we aren't done yet. There's a post-credit scene getting us hyped for Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Finally, a good Sonic 4. What do you know? So anyway, Sonic wins the race, but he overshoots the finish line by a long shot, ending up all the way in New York when suddenly... He looks so good! After Metal Sonic fails to kill Sonic, he summons an army of replicas to finish the job, but they're easily taken care of, none other by... Don't worry guys, I'm not dead. Yes, it seems Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is gonna go in a Sonic CD route featuring Metal Sonic and Amy Rose. But first, I think the Sonic movie Moby and lineup is weird to say the least. I mean, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow makes sense, but we're skipping over to Silver with no Amy or Rouge? Is Paramount misogynistic or something? Well, that sure as hell aged poorly. Then I couldn't be happier. Well, that was peak fiction. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to animating. Hopefully no superpowered hedgehogs interrupt me ever again.